New Wilderness Project is about stories. It always has been since we started, and it sounds simple, but it's in the way that we do that. You know, we create a place where people feel safe and they feel respected, and then from there, you know, we infuse that space with creativity and with inspiration, and we do that through our own music. And then here we have a new wilderness, a place that's inspired. It's people feel safe and comfortable with the people that are around them, and that's when we begin to share and listen to those stories. And again, it sounds simple, but everything is in our stories. Our dignity lives inside of our stories. Our histories are in these stories. Our pain and our struggle is in our stories. And also our vision, you know, who we want to be and how we want to live on the planet. All these things live inside of these precious stories. And so when we tell them with a high level of creativity and a high level of courage and a willingness to be compassionate towards other people, then all of a sudden we begin to learn from each other, and we grow understanding across all these differences that exist between us, differences of race and differences of sexual orientation and religion and language and nationality and ability and gender. And we begin to find places where through these stories we connect with one another, and we also discover the great, immense and infinite diversity that exists between us. So two things are happening at once in these spaces. I feel like this is healing. You know, this is what we need as a planet, because we're driven, you know, the cultural norm of the planet, or you could call it the status quo, is really about wealth and accumulating wealth and the greed that fuels that. And I feel like what we're doing with New Wilderness Project, going around to communities and performing our art and then engaging people in creative and courageous conversations, what we're doing is we're flipping the script. We're really looking at the best sides of ourselves, our compassion for one another. We're growing empathy, we're growing understanding, and we're building a creative vision for how we want to live on the planet, how we want to live with each other, and how we want to live on the earth, and what our communities could look like based on those desires to be connected to people and to connected to the planet. So that's what we're doing. I think really at the bottom, at the foundation of what New Wilderness Project is that we're about storytelling, yes, but the reason that we're about storytelling is because in our stories we find a pathway. It's a grassroots revolution, really, to flip the script on how we're living on the planet. It's a journey away from greed and away from the accumulation of wealth as the model for how to be, and it's much more a journey towards human connection and natural connection and sustainability and justice. That's what it's about. And we do it primarily through music and through the arts, because it's connecting. When we use the arts as a modality for how we communicate with one another, we are communicating not just at the level of intellect, but we're communicating at the level of the heart. And if we're not connecting those two, I don't think we're really doing social justice work, and I don't really think we're doing environmental work if we're not really tying the emotional in with the intellectual. So that's what we do, and we believe in it, and we've been doing it long enough that I feel like we know that it works. It's just time to go bigger. Borderless for us is not a radical shift in what we do or how we do it. It's just a shift in how big we go. Borderless for us is not necessarily a radical shift in what we do or even how we do it. We're still about art, we're still about music, we're about connecting communities through creativity, and growing stewardship and growing equity in communities through the arts. We are about that, we always have been about that, but Borderless for us is just about going bigger. I mean, we really want to be working in more communities around the country, because we know that this work has a deep impact wherever we go. And whether we're working with youth or whether we're working with adults, it has deep impact. It's transformative. So it's about going bigger, being in more communities, and when we are in those communities, the Borderless part of what we're doing, I think, is really about going a little deeper in the work and not just specifically talking about diversity and how do we understand each other's differences better, but really how do we want to live with each other and how do we want to live on the planet in the 21st century? What do we want our communities to look like? What do we want our relationship to the natural world to feel like? How do we want to relate? How do we want to be heard? How do we want to be powerful in our lives? These are the questions that we're wrestling with, and Borderless is not about us telling people when we go into a community what that looks like. It's about us posing the questions and creating the right kind of space, a wilderness space where people come together as equals. No one can claim this space. We come together as equals with our creativity, with our courage and our compassion, and then we see what grows out of that. What are we doing with Borderless? Specifically, this Kickstarter campaign is about finishing an album that we started a few months ago. We've got all the songs written and we've got the engineers and we have all the amazing musicians that are all kind of lined up and ready to go. And we've done actually a lot of the recording, but we just want to finish it. So we need a little bit of support to finish our album. And we're excited about what that looks like when it gets out into the world, because the music is a crazy mix of indigenous roots, folk music, rock, pop, hip hop. And the musicians that are involved are all incredibly talented and visionary, and everybody's been really willing to kind of step outside their own box to see how we can do an album that has so many genres coming together inside of it. So we want to do an album, and then it's simply about promoting and getting the word out to more communities, to more schools, to more universities around the country, so that they can know about what we do and that they can use our work to make their institutions better and more equitable and more sustainable. It's also about producing the performance that'll back up the album. So we really want this new performance to build from what we've done over the last 10 years, but be a little bit bigger. We want our visuals to be bigger. We want the musicianship to be really tight. We want the show to be powerful so that people come to our show and walk away feeling like they've really been transformed by the music and the conversation that occurred in that space. So for us, the Borderless Kickstarter campaign is about finishing the album that we've already started, producing the next show, which is just going to be better and bigger and more beautiful than the last show. And really it's about promotion, getting the information out to schools, organizations, and universities around the country. Let them know what we do and how we do it, and let them know how we can serve their need. So that's what it is. I hope you can join us on this journey. I know everybody's doing Kickstarter campaigns nowadays, but this is ours, coming to you from the New Wilderness. I'm Benji Howard with New Wilderness Project. Coming to you from the New Wilderness, I'm Benji Howard from New Wilderness. Coming to you from the New Wilderness, this is Benji Howard with New Wilderness Project, and we are launching our Borderless Kickstarter campaign in November of 2013.